the Super Bowl. Some would consider this to be the biggest sporting event in the world. Others have no idea what the hell it is. This week, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers played out an epic encounter, and we saw all kinds of your typical Super Bowl spectacles. Halftime performance by Usher, SpongeBob SquarePants commentating the first half of the game.
Who's got it?
You have to firmly grasp it!
Firmly grasp it!
The way too expensive 30-second commercials starring all the A-list celebrities and actors. And of course, the trailers. But the real question is, did the Super Bowl live up to the hype? Not the game, of course. Did we get our trailers? What did we see? What were our first looks? Did we get any surprises? Lucky for us, or me at least, we have the #1 hub in the world for trailer discussion right here. As we at Trailer Tracks are going to cover every single trailer and TV spot covered at this year's Super Bowl. Because frankly, why would I talk about the game? Who gives a shit about football? Roll the intro. And we are back for Trailer Track for another week, and let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the big one. This is the one I created the show for, and the one that I'm most excited to discuss, the Super Bowl special. We had a great day on Sunday, or Monday if you're in Australia, and we had so many trailers and TV spots that I can't wait to cover this week because there were so many surprises and excellent, exciting first looks. And I don't want to delay this any further because we do have a lot to discuss this week. This might end up being a longer episode than the ones we've gotten so far. So just some quick housekeeping for this week because obviously we're going to be doing things a bit different. So what we're going to do is I'm only going to be discussing the trailers and TV spots that came out during the Super Bowl. So all the teasers, big game spots, which is what the TV spots for the Super Bowl are called, and any, of course, the first looks, anything like that. I just wanted to keep things a bit simpler this week because we do have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to try not to make things more difficult than they need to be because we have a lot to get through. So yes, so it'll be a bit simpler than that. So only talking about trailers that came out during the game or a couple days before. We're not going to be covering anything else that came out this week. Hello?
What about the Kong and Godzilla trailer?
We're not talking about that. Not this week, anyway. Alright, we'll move on. Okay, so the first trailer discussion that we're going to be having today is for probably the biggest trailer out of the day. Arguably, I know some people probably were more excited for other movies, but for me, the biggest trailer of the Super Bowl was for Deadpool and Wolverine, the official title for Deadpool 3, the first Marvel movie that Deadpool's going to be part of, the first R-rated MCU property. I want to say it might be the first R-rated Disney movie as well, or at least produced by Disney. So what can I say that hasn't already been said? There was a lot to unpack from this trailer. Not a lot of Wolverine shown apart from maybe like a couple 2-second snippets in the middle of the trailer and at the end. I'm honestly not that bothered by that. I think that's exactly what they needed to do. I think it's smart marketing to keep that your biggest selling piece and hide him just for a little bit longer. Give enough to show people that, yes, he will be in it, he will be contained in this film, and Hugh Jackman obviously confirmed to be coming back for the role, but I think what they needed to do to establish that this was very much a Deadpool movie was to show more of him than Wolverine and save that for maybe the next trailer that comes out later on down the line, and that's what they did. I thought that a lot of what they showed was very vague, and I think it was an excellent example of what a teaser should be. Not spoiling too much, but giving just enough of the plot and what to expect from the movie in terms of tone, atmosphere, and just overall expectation. So the first opening seconds confirmed that we'll be seeing a bunch of characters returning from the first two Deadpool movies. Dopenda, Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Yukio, Shatterstar, Peter. All your favorites from the first two movies are back. And they're celebrating Wade Wilson's birthday. Happy birthday to Wade Wilson for whenever it is. And of course, Vanessa as well, coming back from the dead. Of course, the post-credits scene of Deadpool 2 showed Deadpool bringing back a lot of these characters that died in the first or second movie, more the second movie, if I'm perfectly honest, but bring them back to life, and now they get their chance to be involved a little bit more in this sequel. I don't know how big of a role they're going to have just quite yet. I think it's very loose depending on how much they want to tie into the multiverse stuff, or whether they want to keep the character of Deadpool as the sole focus. Again, a lot more is going to have to be told in the future in terms of the marketing. And then, of course, the TVA shows up for Wade Wilson, looking a little bit different. A lot of people theorize that it might be a different version of the TVA. I think that probably after the events of Loki Season 2, they just went a massive makeover, but who knows? And of course, Matthew McFadden then shows up from Succession. He's going to be in the movie. He's going to be playing like the new Mobius type thing. I think his name was Paradox, if I remember correctly from the subtitles of the trailer. And I'm honestly so happy with how they incorporated Deadpool into the MCU. I think using the TVA is such a seamless way to bring him in naturally and not just like force him in or drop it into a random point in time. I think getting to have some fun with that, and him probably getting to, it seems like they're going to be setting up, he's going to have some playing around with the MCU, and like from phases 1, 2, 3, probably 4 as well. I feel like they'll have a couple jokes for the current state of phase 4 and maybe even phase 5, who knows. And there are just so many reasons, I think, why I'm so excited for this movie. Obviously, Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine is one of the bigger factors, of course. I love the first 2 Deadpool movies, but I think in terms of, like, other stuff that a lot of people don't really talk about, the fact that we're going to have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, this is their first major movie together, the first time where they play the 2 main roles of the film. I'm so excited for that. The 2 have such great chemistry and such a good, like, love-hate relationship behind the scenes and in, like, each other's marketing for their own little products and that. So I think what they're going to bring to the table is going to be a lot of charming banter, back and forth. I think they're going to be both going to be very, very funny. And some of the stuff as well. Sean Levy, I think, despite what some people think about his work on stuff like Free Guy, which I was personally okay with, but I understand that some people don't enjoy the movie as much as I did. He's still a great director. He's done stuff like Stranger Things as well. Some of the action in this, the shots, like Deadpool reloading his pistols, I think like there is so much potential for this to really be like a kick-ass action movie alongside with the comedy stuff and the multiverse shenanigans. The stunt work as well, those are always such a big and part of the Deadpool movies, and I think often underappreciated as well. The stunt work is so good, and it looks like they're just taking it even further here because it looks incredible. Like, I cannot wait for this movie. Trying not to talk about it too much because there is so much I could say about this, but yes, very, very excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, so next up in discussion is going to be Kingdom for the Planet of the Apes, which is the 4th installment in the Planet of the Apes series that was initially set up by Matt Reeves. Very underrated trilogy, by the way. I think that people should, who haven't seen it, definitely go watch it because it is it's so gritty, but also so like creative and action-packed. I think it's a really, really, really good trilogy that people should check out a little bit more. So, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This one's actually not directed by Matt Reeves. It's going to be directed by Wes Ball, and also some major other things. Andy Serkis was the main character in the first 3. He played Caesar the Ape. He's actually not going to be returning for this film because this movie is going to be set nearly 300 years after the event of the last one, War for the Planet of the Apes, which came out in 2017. I've got a premise description here. Ape civilizations have emerged from the oasis to which Caesar led his fellow apes, while humans have regressed into a feral, primitive state. When the ape leader Proximus Caesar perverts Caesar's teachings to enslave other clans in search for remnants of human technologies, Noah, a common chimpanzee, embarks on a harrowing journey alongside a young human named Nova to determine the future for apes and humans alike. So this is going to take place a lot further on in the future, which I think is probably for the best, so you don't really have to worry about connections to the first 3 so much, and make this next one its own thing. Now, one of the main praises that the first 3 got is for its CGI and the motion capture it did for the apes. It is truly breathtaking. I think it is up there in terms of like the CGI levels when it comes to motion capture for stuff like Gollum, and I know convenient to say because Andy Serkis ended up playing both these characters, but it really is quite outstanding. And I think with this one, the apes still do look really, really good. Some of it does look a little bit off. I don't know what the budget for this is quite yet. I still think it's a bit loose for that at the moment. But there is plenty to be excited about. I do think that it does look really good. I just think in comparison to the first 3, it does look like it took a bit of a step down. I like a bit of the role reversal they had here. With the first 3, it seemed like while apes became the dominant species in that trilogy, they were still being hunted a lot by humans and viewed as like the lesser kind, even though they were in main control, because humans, obviously our main thought process when it comes to hostility is violence, violence, and more violence. So I like that we've got a bit of a role reversal here. So the eggs have become the more primitive species, and the trailer sort of makes it look like that the humans have sort of reverted back to caveman times. I don't even know if this character Nova, who's going to be played by Freya Allen, it was going to have much lines of dialogue, or if she's going to be more of a silent role. Not quite sure yet, but again, I really like the premise. I think that could be a really good setup for just letting them get there and get to do their own thing, be creative, but still also hopefully maintain the quality of the first three, because they were such good movies. That movie's going to be coming out May 10th, so not that far away actually. This will be the second trailer, so we had a first trailer a couple months ago, so this is our second look at the movie. There was a smaller TV spot for the Super Bowl, but from memory, it didn't have many like new looks at footage in that. So, very curious to see how this one turns out. It could either turn out to be the same level that we got with the first three, or it will be a pretty decent step down with things. But I am hopeful that this movie is good. Alright, so the next trailer or teaser that we ended up getting during the Super Bowl was for the movie Twisters. This is the sequel to the 1996 movie, I believe. The 1996 movie Twisters, starring Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, along with some other actors as well. The return of the disaster movie as well. Very exciting. Twister became sort of a cult classic with people over the years, because I remember when it first came out, it wasn't well received because it was during that era in the late 90s where a lot of films didn't really have any reason to use CGI in the movies, but they just used it anyway because of the fact that they could, so they wanted to try anything they could, and that's why the movie is so tornado heavy, because, you know, you can make a tornado out of visual effects now, so why not make as many as you can, make them as violent and destructive as possible. So with this one, it's not holding back. There is double the action. It looks like the CG actually looks pretty good for the Twisters. I know a lot of people criticize the looks of some of the Twisters in the first one, but obviously 1996, it was still very early days for CG. It wasn't really prominently used just yet. So the movie is scheduled to release July 19th worldwide, but the funny thing is about this is that it is the sequel to the first one. They are not bringing back any of the original cast, though. It is a completely clean slate, new names, new characters, just with a similar premise for what we got. So we got Daisy Edgar Jones, who's been cast as Kate Cooper, Glenn Powell, of course, anyone but you, as Tyler Owens, Anthony Ramos as I think it's either Harvey or Yavi, I'm not entirely sure. We've also got names like Maura Tierney, Brendan Pereira, Daryl McCormack, and other names as well. I know a few people who are very excited for this. I am as well, because I do think that despite some of the problems the first one may have, obviously it hits the disaster movie cliches that a lot of movies did in back then, Independence Day, Armageddon, Volcano, stuff like that. I think in terms of like making a step up in terms of the first one, I think this will probably live up to the expectations. I think in terms of spectacle, it will look much better. I think the destruction will look cooler. It should be a bit more jam-packed, exhilarating type adventure. I am interested though with the fact that it seems to not be connected with the first one, if there will be like any references to the first one, or if they're going to try and make this their own thing, because I do feel like if they make this movie their own thing, this could actually really help them out. I think that a new fresh set of characters with like no real like established backstories, getting to write it from scratch, I think really could end up helping out this movie a lot. But time will tell. I think it does look really good, and I'm very excited for it. I think it should be a very fun cinema movie, because we haven't really had many like pure disaster flicks in a long while now. So during the game, one of the big surprises for me, and it was one of the first TV spots that was released during the day, I think it was a couple minutes before kickoff during the game, was we got a new look at The Fall Guy, the 2024 movie that is scheduled to come out May 3rd this year. So obviously, first off, no, not based off the video game. Get those jokes out of the way straight away. Not based on Fall Guys. This is something else entirely. The premise is that the character Colt Seavers, a battered and past his prime action choreographer, finds himself working on a film set with Tom Ryder, a famous actor for whom he doubled a long time ago. When Tom goes missing from the film, which is being directed by debutant Jodie Morono, who is also Colt's ex-girlfriend, and the director is in danger of being shut down, the movie is being in danger of shutting down, and Colt volunteers to find and save Jodie's debut film. So this movie, the cast to start off is jam-packed. I never really realized how good the casting was, because the first trailer came out a while ago, but I wasn't really paying attention that much at that time. So you've got people like Ryan Gosling, obviously the great Ryan Gosling, just Ken, is Colt Seavers in this. Emily Blunt plays Jodie Morono, Colt's ex-girlfriend and the debutante director. Winston Duke plays Colt's best friend and stunt coordinator, not named yet. Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be playing Tom Ryder, the famous action film star. So very jam-packed cast. I'm actually quite surprised I didn't hear more about this earlier on. The trailer itself, it looks like a lot of fun. Very, as I said for many of the movies already, very action-packed. It is an action movie, so I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Ryan Gosling, again, looks like he's just going to be stealing the show with this movie. I don't think that man can do any wrong. He has a good past in terms of doing like these action movies that also kind of double as comedies as well. He's had stuff like Drive, which was more of an action movie than comedy, but he did have his funny moments in that. The Nice Guys, obviously, with Russell Crowe, so he's got a fair pathway for that. So I think with this, he'll just bring that same like hilarious charm and just like badassery that he's brought in all these other roles. Emily Blunt, she's had a couple action movies as well. Edge of Tomorrow is probably the first one that comes to mind because she was spectacular in that. Winston Duke, Aaron Taylor Johnson, obviously that's had a couple stuff here and there. Winston Duke, I don't know if he's done many action movies, but he was in stuff like Us, where he did have a couple of action scenes. Aaron Taylor Johnson obviously has done more than enough action movies. He's done like Bullet Train, the Kick-Ass movies, and he's also got Kraven the Hunter coming up next, which is, oh boy. So not a lot to take away from the teaser itself because it's only like a 50-second TV spot. It does look fun though. I think it'll be a good little movie to come out just before the summer starts. The last major trailer we had during the Super Bowl was the first look at Wicked. I was actually proven wrong. I said last week that Twisters would be more likely to get a first look, and that Wicked's supposed first teaser that was coming out wasn't debunked. That's been proven false. We actually did end up getting a short teaser for Wicked, about 1 minute long, so not a lot to take away there. Obviously, he's being adapted from the very popular stage play, a legendary musical there. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, so I think I really do have to see it before this comes out because I need like the proper comparison and stuff like that. So the movie's scheduled to come out November 27th. It is a part one, which throws me off a little bit. I'm not entirely sure what the planning is here because the production for this movie was so disrupted. I think initially it was going to be a TV series, then it became a movie, and it was supposed to come out 2019. So obviously stuff like COVID and that happened, but it's still pushed back. It's a big wait, so it does have the potential to potentially derail itself very quickly, so it's not a lot to take away. In terms of the teaser itself, it wasn't awful by any means. I think, you got to hit some of the easy points there. You got the music. They played Defying Gravity in the teaser. That makes complete sense. I think that was really good. In terms of some of the casting, Cynthia Erivo as the Wicked Witch of the West, I think it's interesting. The makeup on her actually is pretty good. I think they did really well with that. The problem with me is, at least in the shots that we saw, her performance actually ended up looking quite stiff. And she looks uncomfortable in some of these shots, so I don't know how well she's going to do. She is a very talented actress, though, so I do genuinely hope that she does a really good job for it. Ariana Grande as Glinda. Not a lot to take away from that. Only got a couple shots of her. I think that I'm very interested to see how her performance turns out because she has done some acting in the past, but I think not for a long time has she done anything with like this amount of screen time when she's like a main character. She had some cameos and stuff like the TV series Kidding, starring Jim Carrey, the movie Don't Look Up, which was directed by Adam McKay. Not a lot to work off there, so I think it's interesting to see what like the questions that are raised with how she's going to do this. Obviously, she'll nail the vocals for sure. She's a wonderful singer, but what she does with the actual acting side of things will be very interesting. There is some stuff that excited me, though. You got stuff like Michelle Yeoh playing Madame Horrible, who I think, Michelle Yeoh, she won an Oscar not long ago. She's an incredible actress, so I think that she's a really good pickup for this. Jeff Goldblum as the wonderful Wizard of Oz. I cannot stress this enough. When I heard this news, I was very, very skeptical, because the thing with Jeff Goldblum is, you get two types of Jeff Goldblum. You either get very funny Jeff Goldblum, or you get the Jeff Goldblum that's trying to do his shtick, but doesn't do much with it, and it ends up falling flat. After watching this teaser, I'm actually very excited for it. I think he's going to be a really, really good, wonderful Wizard of Oz. So I'm very excited for that. Now, this is the trailer that actually ended up getting a lot of backlash online. I don't really pay attention to a lot of that, but there were some points that were raised there. First off, a lot of people aren't happy with the amount of CG that was used in the trailer. There wasn't as much as people expected. They thought like the whole thing was a CG fest. But set pictures did end up coming out that proved that there were a lot of the stuff shown in the trailer was actually practical sets. This is the problem with it, though. The color grading in the trailer is actually quite off. I don't really know how to explain it, to be perfectly honest, but everything does look a little bit cheap, and it doesn't look the greatest.
Now, granted, we only saw about a minute of footage, so there's not really a lot to judge off of just yet. There's no way to say, like, oh, the entire movie's going to look like that. But in terms of the shots that we were shown, there was just, like, a certain dullness to them that I think really threw a lot of people off for it, especially for something as Wicked, which is known for being, like, this big, colourful, vibrant setting. Same with just Oz in general. Like, I don't think it's what people expected, but there is still plenty of time to change things up a little bit. I do think that it is still too early to make a proper judgment on it, and I do think that eventually things will get fixed. But in the meantime, it seems like at the moment the visuals could be what kills the movie. There's a lot that's working against it. Hopefully it turns out to be a faithful adaptation of the original play and pleases a lot of musical fans out there.
So very quickly, some of the other stuff we got. This is sort of like the quick note section, but not quite, because it's not like other news that came out. This is just other trailers and teasers that we got that we already knew about a bit more. So we got a new look at Kung Fu Panda 4. Obviously not a lot to take away there. Their marketing, surprisingly, has actually been quite secret. Aside from the Tai Lung reveal, there's not really much being told about the story or like what the Viola Davis's character, the Chameleon, what her motivations are and stuff like that. So not a lot to take away from it. I'm still very excited for it. I think that if any studio can properly execute their legacy sequels, it is DreamWorks, because they've had success with stuff like Puss in Boots, and I feel like this could be another chance for them to really step that up and probably take one step ahead of Disney in terms of making genuinely good sequels to movies that didn't need them. We got a new big game spot for John Krasinski's new movie, If. Again, not a lot to take away from that. I'm not entirely sure what genre they're going for this. Initially, I thought it was like, it is a family picture. The way Ryan Reynolds describes it in the featurette is that it's sort of like a live-action Pixar movie, which I do like. I think that concept can be very creative, and it's something that's, it's not a remake, it's something original, but you get to have a little bit more fun in terms of live-action elements, see how you can bind those two instead of having like a early 2010s movie where it was just put an animated companion next to a human one and go on a road trip or something. I'm looking at you, Hop, the Smurfs, other movies that I can't remember because I didn't watch them. A Quiet Place Day One had their spot as well. Not a lot of new footage, mostly just some of the stuff that we already saw in the trailer that came out. Again, very excited for that. I cannot wait for that. Dev Patel's directorial debut, Monkey Man, had another teaser. Despicable Me 4 had kind of a big game spot. There was nothing really new for the movie. It was sort of a just spot that was sort of teasing AI art, which is cool. I mean, like, if you're an AI artist, to be taunted by the minions is... that's a new low for you. Inside Out 2 got a new look at that. Some little snippets, not a lot to take away from it. Still don't really know a lot about the characters. The Boys, in particular, Fashion had a TV spot for that. Their big game spot for their fictional company, Vought. Just mostly reused stuff and footage from the first 3 seasons. No, like, new stuff for season 4, which I believe comes out this year as well. So, not a lot to take away from that as well. Alright, and that's it for Trailer Track Episode 3, the Super Bowl special. Probably rushed through it a little bit, but again, there's so much to talk about, and with the major trailers, they have the major talking points, but that's about it in terms of other stuff. We didn't really get too much new, just a lot of rephrasing and looks that we already saw. A lot of these trailers that we thought were going to come out during the game did come out a couple of days before, so you had stuff like A Quiet Place, Monkey Man, Despicable Me 4, and stuff like that, so not too much to go off of in terms of some of those TV spots, but the big trailers, I think, were worth a discussion because there were some really big ones, and it does look like, despite the fact that a lot of people consider 2024 to be like a quiet year for movies, there is still plenty to be excited about. I think that there is potential for these movies to end up surprising a lot of people, and this could be the year of surprises. A lot of expectations of movies that aren't expected to perform well, but end up actually surprising a lot of people and getting back a pretty good box office. But again, there's only so much you can tell from a couple trailers, and that's the same thing with like Wicked and Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine. It's only like a 1 to 2 minute trailer that can only show so much. So try not to make any judgments on the movie just yet, and just focus on what we've been shown so far and what we think of it in general. But otherwise from that, very good day. I had a lot of fun I had like a proper setup and everything. It was a lot of fun getting to follow along with everyone for the trailers that came out and watch a mediocre game of football as well. So that's it for me for today. So again, thank you very much for watching. If you managed to make it all the way through, thank you especially, because I know it is a lot to listen to me talk about movie trailers for such a good chunk of time, but it's always very appreciated, so I hope people enjoyed this. If anyone has any questions or just want to have any general discussion, feel free to do so in the comments or like anywhere else if you follow me on social. So otherwise from that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching again. Enjoy your weekends.